Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Farming Simulator 25 map guide. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Chambergo 2K25. But before that, this video is brought to you by Bam Farmer and Nigel Lindecote. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Chambergo 2K25 map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for all platforms. Now, while the map size is just 328 megabytes, this map does have 2 required mods, so if we factor in those 2 required mods, we're looking at a total download size of 350 megabytes. Those 2 required mods are low-cost grain silo and the olives and olive picker. Let me go ahead and read you some of the description. Welcome to Chambergo 2K25. A European-style map created for FarmSim 19 and missing from FarmSim 22, now returns with its improved version for FS25. You know, this got me thinking, maybe maps should skip versions. So when they came back, they were kind of refreshed and reimagined as opposed to a map coming out every single version all the time. Let me know your thoughts. Should maybe maps skip versions going forward? Get ready to enjoy its wide variety of fields and uneven terrain with all the features of this latest version of Farming Simulator. This map includes 90 farmlands available for purchase, 51 fields including 7 meadows, fully equipped pre-built farm including a farm workshop, silos, and diesel tank, transport wood, cut down dead trees, and crush rocks. So we have our new contracts for FarmSim 25 included on the map. Multi-terrain angle has been added, a large space to build out your own farm, 25 collectibles, pre-built pens for cows, sheep, pigs, and horses, 20 pre-built factories, although I counted 22, a logging area with over 800 planted trees, pre-installed vineyards and olive trees, 3 new products in cherries, apples, and sportswear, pre-installed cherry and apple tree plantations, 2 biogas plants, 11 sell points, although I counted 8. That's okay. Lime, seed, and animal feed stations, 6 large forests. The map does have a soil map, although it's not custom. So it is using the generic soil map. We'll show that off here in a moment. And all areas on the farmland where factories, animal pens, farms, vineyards, and olive trees exist, everything can be sold and bought at any time. With that said, let's jump back over here to the map and, well, take a look at the PDA. If we zoom on out, you're going to see that we've got a standard size map here with quite the variety of field sizes and shapes. Our starting farm is right here, kind of in the southwest corner of the map, if you will, with the center, of course, being around here. We have farmland ID 99. That is going to be where the main farm is located. We can buy that for $118,828 if we choose to not own the starting farm at the start. Should you select to not own the farm at the start, do note that the main farm is built out regardless, and you have starting machinery regardless if you own the farm or not. In addition to owning farmland ID 99, if you do select to own the farm, you also start with farmland ID 30, 31, and 32 with respect to your starting fields. This map does include all the standard crops available to us in FarmSim 25, and there are additional animal pens, and as I said, 2 biogas plants. We're going to find just down from the main starting farm, farmland ID 103. That's where we're going to find a horse pasture. We can buy that for $19,891. We also have a cow pasture at farmland ID 100, which we can buy for $100,147. We have a sheep pasture at farmland ID 102 for $59,328, and we have pigs at farmland ID 101 for $67,910. Just south of the pig area, we have the Biogas West plant. That's going to be $72,345 at farmland ID 69. And at farmland ID 68, we have the Biogas Plant East. That can be bought for $65,104 or $107. We also have a buildable zone at Farmland ID 54 for $63,129. I think this would be a pretty interesting map for a community or a cooperative multiplayer where you could work the main farm, maybe build out a secondary farm here at Farmland ID 54. And with 22 productions, well, there's plenty of fields and plenty of productions to keep a crew of folks busy. Now let's go ahead and take a look and see how that generic soil map is being applied to these fields. You can see with respect to our starting fields, field 30 is a mix of loamy sand and sandy loam. Field 31 and 32, we've got bits of silty clay and loam with a little sliver of sandy loam in fields 31. But overall, there you go. You've got a general idea of the soil types amongst all the various fields. Now, with respect to the crop counter, we do have our standard FS25 crop counter available to us on Chambergo. We do not have any animal pens at the start. I will be buying those animal pens later. That way we can explore all of those and see the triggers. We do have contracts available on this map. And as was mentioned, we do have the new FS25 contracts. Here we see deadwood and wood transport being offered. We do not own any productions at the start. And if you just look at this list, you might think, well, there aren't really any other than the Playground Hall Toy Maker. Well, that is because technically, in order to see these productions, we're going to need to buy the land that the productions are sitting on. So you can see here, Farmland ID 78, for example. Well, it has a production, and once we buy that, we now can see that we have the cereal factory. So we're not going to see hotspots for all the productions unless we own the land for which those productions are located. So a little bit later on in the video, I will go ahead and buy all the land on the map, which will of course get us our animal pens, and of course our productions will then show up so we can see them here on the PDA, as well as see them here in this list. With respect to sell points, I counted up 8 unique sell points scattered around the map. The description mentioned 11. That may be because some things we're calling a production, the map author is calling a sell point, and other things that we are thinking are sell points are just multiple sell points at the same place, but I'm counting them as just one versus multiples. With respect to vehicles, we're going to go through this list here in a little bit. We do have our Husqvarna 550 XP chainsaw, and this map does have 25 collectibles. Those 25 collectibles actually are the golden apples from Zelonka. And I'll give you a quick little hint as to where you might find your first. There you go. You can find all the rest on your own. Now, with respect to our starting fleet, we not only have the fabulous international pickup truck with custom license plate, we've got some other machinery. That machinery includes the Zetor Cristal HD 170 medium tractor. We've got the Same Virtus 125 RV Shift small tractor. We have our pickup truck we already talked about. The Hauer XB 150 front loader arms. We have the Albert pallet fork. We have the ASW 271 legal trailer. We have the Prolander 7500 cultivator. The Mestiro 975 RX planter. And with that, we have the Partner 1600 FT. This is going to hold seed or fertilizer, one or the other, not both at the same time. We have the Aquila Drive 400 seeder as well. The Amazon ZATS 3200 fertilize spreader. The Zunhammer ULT 18 slurry transport tanker. The Klaus Evian 450 harvester. The Vario 620 grain header for our harvester. And the Nardi N40BX header trailer. As far as our grass care goes, we have the Vendro 820 Highland tedder and the Faro 4010D forage wagon. We do have the ABI attachment 1600 water tanker, and we have a pair of 1,000 kilogram front weights, and we have the Truist little flatbed trailer here, $10,317 for that. It's configured kind of neat with a tarp that goes over it. I don't think I really seen that particular configuration. With respect to mods and DLCs, while this map does not have any custom vehicles or implements, we do have the olives and olive picker as a required mod, and as such, well, we have the olive picker and we have the hydraulic oil barrel, for which the olive picker is going to require in order to operate. So those are going to be available for the purpose of shaking olives from the particular type of olive trees that are pre-placed here on the map. I've gone ahead and purchased all the farmland, and as such, we now have all of the productions being shown. We have an apple tree plantation, and the apples are going to simply require water in order to produce apples. We have a bakery, pretty standard inputs and outputs here. Our biogas plant east and west. We have our carpentry shop. We have a cement factory, cereal factory. We have a cherry plantation. Again, cherries are going to simply require water as an input. We've got our cooper for barrels, bathtubs, and buckets. We have a dairy. We have a garlic garden. Again, just water in order to produce the garlic. We have our grain mill, our grape processor, our oil mill, paper factory, potato chip factory, preserved foods. We have our sawmill, soup factory, spinnery, sugar mill, and then our textile workshop, which is also going to include the ability to not only make clothes from fabric, but also sportswear from fabric. Now, as far as our starting farm goes here, we do have the ability to sell most of the things here on the farm, including the farmhouse. Although I really would suggest not selling the farmhouse because, well, lots of the deco elements, including the things hanging from the farmhouse, do not go away when you sell said farmhouse. So selling the farmhouse kind of leaves this area in a bit of a lurk with respect to a whole bunch of stuff just kind of hanging out here without any real place to be. So I would just suggest leaving this farmhouse where it is. We have our wardrobe, we have our sleep trigger here. And then down the slope on the right, we're going to find our farm silo. Our dump and fill point. This is going to be an arable farm, so there's no animals here at this location. We've got some storage sheds. We do have a pull-through silage bunker, though, so we've got that available to us. Some more sheds here, and these are great because these are set up with collisions, so you will be able to dump root crops and such in there for storage or heaps of, let's say, forage or other things. Lots of nice little sheds going on here. We do have a few pallets of consumables, being seed, lime, and fertilizer. This is going to be our workshop, our farm workshop, to reconfigure our vehicles. And the farm workshop building is one of the buildings that we cannot get rid of here on the starting farm. I tried to sell this and it just would not go away. Our farm continues under the road here. This structure here as well is also a structure for which I could not sell. Some more storage. And the farm continues down the hill here to some more nice storage sheds. And that is pretty much the starting farm location. As I mentioned, just basically to the south of the starting farm location, we do have the horse pasture. The horse pasture is set up with a small barn here and a manure heap. So here we have our food for our horses. And we're going to be able to put 16 total horses in this particular location. Let's go ahead and pull up the PDA so we can kind of see where we are going at this point. I'm just going to follow this road around and basically land our way over to the horse area, which is going to be located at farmland ID 100. So we have our animal pasture here for our animal sell point, our animal buy point. And of course, we're going to make another kind of trip around the map with respect to our productions and sell points. So here we have farmland ID 100. If you do own this farmland, it does start out with a few cows. So I believe we have set up here 10 of the 7-month-old cows, and 5 7-month-old cows and 5 19-month-old cows. Of course, we have our milk trigger here. We do already have some meadow grass, so we may be good for a little bit of time before we really need to start feeding these guys. This particular area does make use of the feeding robot. So if you provide mineral feed, silage, straw, and hay into here, then the robot will come out of its little shed and meander over here and make its way to feed our animals automatically. Otherwise, you're going to be feeding them inside the barn. We make our way kind of diagonal. We're going to make our way over here toward the center of the map where we have farmland ID 54. This is going to be the buildable site. It's kind of up here on a ledge. Be a nice kind of overlook of the map. North of that, we're going to find our sheep pasture. We have a pull-through silage bunker just south of that sheep pasture. And each of these animal areas has a bit of land where you could kind of build out a little bit of a farm area here. At least maybe a couple supporting sheds. This particular pasture will support 149 sheep, of which we start out with 10, 5 3-month-old, and 5 8-month-old sheep. We have our food trough, and we're already producing some wool. If we go directly to the west from here, well, we're going to make our way over to the pig area. I was successful in selling pretty much all the buildings at all of these animal areas, except for some of the satellite buildings at the cow area. So as far as pigs go, we start out with 10, but we can store a total of 773. We have 5 newborn pigs and 5 3-month-old pigs. So we have our straw point there. We have our food point. And we have our slurry point. Pigs are also set up with a manure heap as well. And again, another nice area here for you to build out additional items. Just south of that, we have the West BGA. Bit of the traditional olive trees. So these would be harvested traditionally with the olive harvester. And I'll point out the olive trees where we're going to have to use the olive tree shaker once we get to those. But we're back over here to our starting farm. Now you may notice some fields have utility poles around them. Other fields are going to have utility poles in them. These utility poles do have collisions. So if you do find a field that does have utility poles in the field, you and your AI helpers will need to work around those. Just a little bit of word of caution. So from the starting farm, let's go ahead and start talking about the production and sell points that are here on the map. Directly to the west, if you will, of our starting farm, we have the cereal factory, which we've already kind of talked about and uncovered when we were talking about needing to buy the land before you can use the productions. So we have our cereal factory here with our dump point. We have our interactive icon, and we have our pallet spawn point there at the loading docks. We made our way to the southwest corner of the map. We're going to find our next production. And this is going to be for our preserved foods. An interesting glass door with the door handle right there in the glass. Either way, we have our interactive icon there. We have our dump point. And I would only have to speculate as to where our food's going to spawn right here at this particular building. So kind of interesting setup there. Just down the hill from our preserved food factory. We're going to find our Cooper. So we have our dump point here for our inputs. We have our spawn point for our outputs. And our interactive icon is hiding. Hiding away. Where could you be? Well, thankfully, we don't need the interactive icon in order to buy the production. All we have to do is buy the land it's associated with. Spinning around, making our way back toward our starting farm, south of the farm, south of the horse pasture. We're going to come to another production point. This is going to be our soup factory. So we have our pallet, our interactive icon, and we have our dump point there. Then we'll make our way kind of north. So here we have the olive trees that we need to use the shaker on. These are specifically bigger than the olive trees that you're going to use the traditional farm sim harvester on. I think. Hold on. Yeah. Pretty sure these are the olive trees. I started thinking, wait. We could have grapes. No, not grapes. We could have our apples or cherries here, but no, these are the shaking olive trees. They're one of our fuel points here, just on the other side of this kind of little pond area. We have another production just below the build your own farm area. This is going to be our potato processor. So we have our pallet point. We have our dump point there. This looks an awful lot like the other production that was up we saw earlier. There we have our interactive icon at this building. On the other side of the pond area here, well, this is where we're going to find our apple trees. So our pallet of apples is going to spawn there. We're going to deliver our water to the totes. Then we have our apple trees here. We have our paper mill. So our paper is going to spawn there. And of course, we're going to deliver our logs. We have our wood cell trigger and our interactive icon there. This is going to be our production that we can either deliver goods to. It's going to be the playground toy maker. So if we deliver goods here, we can sell the goods as we deliver them, and he'll build out his toys. Or we can purchase it by hitting this interactive icon, and then we will own this location. And of course, we'll earn money as we complete our wooden toys. our textiles. So this is going to be our spinnery. We have our dump point here for our wool or cotton. Our pallet spawn point. And again, the little green wrench just eludes my vision. Across the street from that, we're going to have another production. We have our dump point. We have our pallet point. We have our interactive icon, and this is going to be our oil mill. Continuing south along, let's call this Production Road. We have our bakery. So we have our pallet point, dump point, and interactive point around the front. We have our vehicle dealer here also on Production Road, just south of Field 42. So we have our trigger here for buying machinery. Let's go ahead and pick up a piece of machinery. See, it spawns right here at the front door, kind of the front parking lot. And you're going to find that the dealer workshop trigger is actually around the back of the building. So if we make our way back here, we're going to find the workshop trigger. I don't know why my system runs whenever I have flight mode enabled. At any rate, here we have our workshop dealer trigger. Up a level from the workshop, we have our garlic garden. Right? We're going to deliver our water. We're going to do our interactive icon, and our pallets of garlic is going to spawn here under the shed. We have our animal dealer. So here's where we're going to be able to buy or sell animals. And around the side, we have a sell point here for our animal dealer. South and west of that, we're going to have our sawmill. We have our pallet point. We have our dump point for our logs, our interactive icon there. And I'm really just tired of trying to find a little glowy wrench when, quite honestly, it's not a good color. It's too light of a green and too transparent for me to really be able to pick out quickly and easily. We make our way kind of up the western side of the map. We have some grapes pre-placed over here on the extreme eastern side of the map, on the extreme eastern edge. We're going to have a sell point located here for various root crops. We have our cow pasture, which we've talked about already, up here on the cliff side. We've got a location that's spawning rocks. Let's see how that's denoted here on the PDA as the debris crusher. Okay. Up from that, we have our biogas east. We have 1, 2, 3 pull-through silage bunkers. We have our BGA. We have our interactive icon there. We have our digestate output. And we have our dump point there for our slurry. Continue to make our way up the eastern side of the map. Here we're going to find our sugar mill. So we have our pallet point, our interactive icon, and our dump point. In the extreme northeast. Here we have our grape processor. So we have our dump point, we have our interactive icon, and we're going to find our pallet point here under the roof. At that point, we're going to make our way across the northern part of the map to kind of the town area. North central, if you will. We're going to have another grain sell point here on our right. And this is set up as the cooperative. We have a lime station located right here to buy lime. We have another sell point located over here, which is set up to sell station slurry. Okay. There, and I can only imagine that this is set up for selling of our forage. So it looks like manure, chaff, and, well, I wonder, compost. But I don't think compost is here in the map. Let's go here and check our fill types. Nope, don't see compost listed here. So maybe this is for a future expansion or is set up for just visually having compost there. Down over here, we have then our textile. This is going to be for our sportswear and clothing. So we have our dump point. And I have to say, I'm not really seeing the telltale signs of where we would interact with this or where our pallets might spawn. I guess right here. Kind of very worn here at these doors. And there's our interactive icon there at the door. Stare at it long enough and it might come clear to you. Got our dairy production. So we're dump point. Dairy sell point, not production. And then around the back, we have another vegetable cooperative for selling our root crops. We have our sheep pasture, which we've already taken a look at. Another fuel point. And then another cooperative style sell point called the Farmer. Here we have the structured forestry area with our pre-placed trees. So I know some folks might think, well, this doesn't look very realistic, but think agricultural forestry, where you have planted these trees years ago for the direct purpose of eventually harvesting them for their pulp. So in those cases, you wouldn't be randomly placing trees down like a forest. You'd be placing them down very organized and very linear, so it just made coming through and working those trees at a later date much, much easier. We have our pig area, which we've already talked about. Here we have our cement factory. So we have our dump point and our pallet spawn point, interactive icon, and then we're going to have a biogas plant west, just up from the pig area. 1, 2, 3 pull through silage bunkers once again. This BGA is a bit bigger than the other one. So we have our dump point there, our interactive icon. We have our slurry dump point to our right, and our digestate fill point to our left. We've already talked about the traditional olive trees here. We're going to use our traditional harvester on. And then down here we have our cherry trees. So the cherry plantation. We have our pallet point for our cherries, interactive icon in the shed, and then our water point here at our IBC tanks. I believe we have one more production to take a look at. That's going to be our grain mill. So the grain mill, we have a dump point, interactive icon, we have our pallet around the back, and then the grain mill also has a silo. So we can use this to store grain. So we have our dump point and we have our fill point. So it's kind of neat that we have a silo right here where we would have our grain mill. We're back to our cereal factory, which means we're back to our starting farm. So guys, that's it. That is Chambergo 2K25. I'll admit, I don't really recall this map in Farm Sim 19. I recall some aspects of a map that's similar to this, but I don't recall this specific map. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Did you play this map in Farm Sim 19? Do you remember it? Am I just completely drawing a blank after 1,000+ map videos? Probably. Again, let me know what your thoughts are with respect to not only the FS19 version, this version, and what are you going to do? Is this going to be your next play? Or maybe you're looking for something else. Until next time, happy farming.